Fucking yes. One bloody thing after another there. I almost started with the mic muted. It's been a while since I done that. How is everybody out there, guys? My sincere apologies for the profound lateness to today's stream. You want to know what actually happened there? So I was out and about there this afternoon, and I had to prepare for today's show while on the go. So I was doing a lot of reading from the mobile phone, sitting in the car, just while I was waiting for the kids and ourselves and things like that. And I was thinking, oh yeah, I better schedule the stream so you all know that I will be live at 4:20 today. So I went onto my phone, opened the YouTube app, and scheduled the stream. Didn't think nothing of it, until I went to go live there then a while ago. So apparently, when you schedule a stream from your mobile phone, you have to use your mobile phone to go live on that particular stream. At least that was how I think I figured this out and got back on. So I had to end that stream, create a new one on the desktop, and voila, it worked. So, guys, please forgive me. I thought I was, if I can getting one ahead, like doing scheduling while out and about there today. But no, it seems like all the scheduling of streams has to be done from the desktop if I'm going to be going live from the desktop. So we're a slight bit behind schedule here today, but happy 420, everybody. Oh yes, it's lovely and sunny outside there now at the moment. It's still quite cold. But looking at it there, a bit of sunshine coming in the window to me. Yeah, you wouldn't be, I wouldn't blame you for being mistaken that it was a lovely sunny day outside, or summer's day outside. Is that the roving reporter says we should all smoke extra for the YouTube. Yes, smoke as much as you like, guys, or don't smoke at all. All right, I'm not telling you to smoke, no. But if you want to engage in civil disobedience, by all fucking means, get involved. Do you remember me balls? I was showing off me balls there. Was it on the last stream last week? Well, fucking poor balls after getting an awful doing there throughout the week. Yeah, it's not as mighty a ball as it once was. It's about, I don't know, would there be about maybe 3 to 4 grams left on this ball of bubble? Been just kind of peeling off little bits and mixing up those bowls. Nothing like a cocktail bowl there of some lovely herb and hash. Oh, good lord. Barry says, go back, read the comments on the other stream. Yeah, there was a lot coming in there in the other stream, actually. I could kind of see the comments flying in as I was fiddling in the background. Any chance you copy and paste them there, Barry? I'm just adding a little bit of hash here at me ball into me bowl. Anyone else out there besides Chilbert, if he's out there, got some lovely balls of hash? Anybody got homemade balls of hash, or are you smoking some street stuff? Don't see too much hash for sale today these days, really. I know it's out there. I definitely seen one or two lads actually over in the Telegram now that I think of it offering it. But not that many still, But boom, Robin Reporter says, "Woo, bang o'clock." Yes, it is. Let's hit this. Oh yes, now that I think of it, I think I got some. Oh, wait. Let me see. Did it? Boom, Hempwick. Do I have my? Yes, I do. Woohoo! Oh, I just fell back in my pocket. Some Hempwick here to keep going. So the cocktail bowl today actually contains. There is sour Maui cheese and there a tiny little bit of that. I get a little sneak peek there from the drying rack from the grower buddy. There was the sour Maui cheese. We have a little bit of Godberry inside in there, and we have some. It was called 22. That's what was written on the bag. Picked that one up off of a different buddy who didn't grow it. Bought it in. I believe it came from Spain. But it was 22, and then kind of when I went on to Leafly and I was looking up strains by the name 22, you've kind of found, was there 22 Haze or something along those lines, 22 Skunk, or there was 22 something. There was like 3 or 4 different mixes there of it. I think, as I said, I think there was a Haze, I think there was a Kush, but yeah, 22. 3 different strains there, not 22 of them. So let's light up this hemp wick here, guys, and we'll engage in a little bit of civil disobedience. Just let the government know, just like despite this being illegal, this is still happening here. Yes, bubble. Oh, I wish I could actually like show you this, like on zoom in the camera. I should probably try. Should I? Let's see. Blow out this first. I know I can get a good zoom on this camera, alright, but oh, there we go, right up to me air. Let's see if I can work this bowl up onto the camera. We'll be a bold boy here today. The guys on YouTube definitely won't like this one. Didn't work out as well as I expected. I was hoping you might have seen that little liquid dream there as I could see it, like as the hash just melts, it turns into a little lake in the bowl with a little red ember underneath it. Ooh. That hits hard. Barry, this is actually kind of what that reminds me of, the old blonde pollen. Remember how easy that old blonde pollen was? Or maybe the still blonde pollen. It's not old, but I remember I was being old. I haven't seen it in a long time. But you remember how that stuff just kind of breaks off between your fingers? Don't even need any heat and it just crumbles into dust. That's like this, except it's not as dry a dust as that blonde pollen was. This kind of has a little bit more oiliness. Even my fingers there now, like my fingers are sticking together. Like there's a lot of friction there because of the resin there from the bubble hash. Oh, this thing's still smarting here. Ooh. So let's get this show on the road, shall we? That is the civil disobedience done for now. We will return to that in a little while with a fresh bowl, of course. Ah, yes. So we are 31 minutes away to the next 420 over in the Azores Islands. Pop that up on screen. No, I didn't open that up fee. Where is it? There she is. Boom, there. No. Ah, there. Boom, yes. Yes, 30 minutes to the next 420 in the Azores Island and Cape Verde. So we shall get cracking into the first lot of the news, and in 30 minutes we will return to 420 with a little bit of civil disobedience. Oh, shout out to anybody watching in the Azores and Cape Verde. We'll be with you soon. So let's start off on a high note, shall we? There is some positive news to report on in today's 420 news. It's coming from the academic journals. It's an article that is over on Science Alert. So I was reading this on, there was a couple of articles covering this publication. It was, as they say here, a first of its kind experiment confirms the best cannabis compound for anxiety. And the first of its kind, what it's referring to here is that I believe they've done a double-blind randomized placebo trial, or at least it was randomized anyway in some form, or they had groups. But the outcome basically showed that CBD flowers that had higher ratios of CBD to THC were much more effective at easing an individual's anxiety compared to a flower with the reverse there, with a higher ratio of THC to CBD. So what they found is that those flowers that were higher in THC and had less CBD weren't as effective at alleviating people's anxiety. And in fact, some of the studies found that especially those who weren't experienced with cannabis, like they didn't really have a tolerance built up. Like we all know this, really. Like when you're reading through the study, if you were to read through it, it would make sense to all of us there as to why that is. Like when they done this, they had two different groups. One group were people who used cannabis in the past, and the other group were people who had like little to no experience with cannabis. And of course, it was that group that actually tended to have a bit more of a negative time there with the higher THC, while the other guys on the other side who had a tolerance there, they didn't experience as effective as anxiety relief as the higher CBD, but they didn't experience the same negative problems. And as I say, that would make sense to a lot of us, as you know, we kind of understand this with cannabis and tolerance, that our tolerance today to cannabis as a seasoned smoker. I'm kind of speaking for myself anyway. I don't know, maybe you listening out there that don't fit that bill, maybe you're new to this, and then this might make sense to you still. That your first time smoking cannabis, you know, you tend to get quite high. Giddy bangs, munchies, you know, the intensity of those, it's a lot higher. It's not to say that later on in life, after a couple of years' experience with cannabis, you don't experience those things. It's just you wouldn't experience them as frequently, and the intensity of them as well. When you do experience them, it's not as high. Now, you start hitting some dabs from dab rigs and things like that. That'll put you back, you know, to those earlier days again. But again, as I said, the tolerance, it should make sense to pretty much all of us out there. And again, look, forgive me for assuming everybody watching this is knowledgeable. But if you're only a new first time talker, that's understandable too. We're not judging you on that. I'm just assuming pretty much anybody coming to this is watching this show is going to be seasoned in some way. And if you're not, guys, that's all good too. Send me a message, say hi, because I definitely would like to meet kind of people 18, 19, that kind of direction. Even if you're 16, 17, and you're just starting out having a smoke for yourself, I would love to hear from you. You know, how you finding it? Any questions, any concerns there? Any bad experiences buying bud and things like that? I'd love to hear from people in those situations. Obviously, if I was to share anything about what you share with me, it'll be anonymously unless you would agree otherwise. But do definitely fire me a message. And that goes to anybody out there. If you've got a story out there that you would like to share, if you'd like to share your experience, by all means, guys, my email's open to Instagram, Facebook. I'll do my best to get back. Probably email would be the best, maybe. I tend to fucking miss Facebook Messenger, definitely, but Instagram tends to get neglected as well. My apologies. But anyhow, so is there anything else inside this there? Just talking about the number of people they recruited: 300 people with anxiety, 258 who were familiar with the jazz cabbage, and 42 who had never touched it. So they had a decent enough old sample size there in terms of those with experience with cannabis, and a small but again still sizable 42 people who'd never touched it at all. And even those who were familiar with the jazz cabbage, there was varying levels of familiarity there as well within that. As I say, I was kind of reading into the study there in its length earlier, but this is just a quick report on it. So some bullet points here: the THC dominant strain with 24% THC and less than 1% CBD. That was the high THC strain that they used. Then they had a strain that was pretty much 1-to-1. In equal parts, THC, CBD, and that was at 12%. And then a CBD dominant strain with less than 1% THC. So still like a reasonable amount of THC in their CBD dominant strain, because here in Ireland, we're only allowed 0.2%, so less than 0.2% THC in CBD flowers. They were allowed up to 1% here, so less than 1%. Like. Less than 1%, is that 0.9%? And again, if you're one of these people who've got little or no experience with cannabis, that's still a decent old dose, if you were to be smoking. I don't know how much they actually smoked, did it say? Kind of forgot that now. But like if you were to have smoked a gram and it was 0.9, you're still getting, what's that, 90 milligrams, is it? of THC, if you smoke that entire gram. That's still a decent dose of THC. Open the correction there, but I do believe my math's right there. 1%, 0.9%. Yeah, less than 0.2. So, sorry, yeah. Jeez, I'm all over the place. That hash was potent. It says there a 4-group volunteered to stay off the grass to set something of a baseline for comparison. Their data looked at the effects of both acute use and over the 4 weeks of use. Participants were at liberty to decide when, how, and how much weed they used, but the average intake was about 3 times a week. So 3 times a week, so they weren't even consuming daily, is it? Most participants chose to inhale their choice of greenery via pipes, bongs, joints, and to a much lesser extent vaporizers and bubblers. Bubbler, yeah, is that the you smoke your joint through a bubbler? Anyway, 6 users' administration methods were other or unknown. They boofed it. They definitely were boofing it, and they're just too ashamed to admit it. Nothing wrong with sticking a few suppositories where the sun don't shine. Apparently, it's a very effective way of getting cannabinoids into the body and around, because you avoid that first pass of the liver. So therefore, you deliver more THC around the body more effectively. Don't know if you know, but when you consume cannabis through the orally into the stomach, it goes past the liver then, and when it passes the liver, there's some enzymes in the liver released there which interact with THC, converting it to an even more potent compound 11-hydroxy metabolite. So that's something important to know about when you stick it into your behind. or for ladies out there, I do believe you can get vaginal suppositories as well. But both of these methods avoid that first pass to the liver, so you deliver more THC there and less of that 11-hydroxy metabolite. And while all 4 groups, even the non-tokers, reported reduced anxiety, by the end of the 4th week of the study, the cannabis groups reported greater reductions than the non-cannabis group, with the greatest improvements reported by the CBD dominant group. So there you go, guys. If you're looking for a compound which is going to be more effective at helping with your anxiety, then look no further than CBD dominant cannabis flower. Says here the short-term effects were very clear. CBD was associated with tension and anxiety relief with limited harm, says neuroscientist Cinnamon Bidwell. Our study suggests that CBD products may be able to relieve anxiety in the moments for adults who use them, and possibly longer term, in a way that is meaningful and doesn't necessarily produce the same risks or harms of THC or prescription medications. Excuse me. Continues then that while the study found strains with relatively higher amounts of THC increase the risk of developing paranoia in the short term, it didn't seem to prevent the drug's anti-anxiety effects from working, at least better than not taking the drug at all. So there you go, guys. Even the higher THC group performed better than those who didn't take it at all. At least that's how I'm reading that there. It didn't seem to prevent the drug's anti-anxiety effects from working. And it says here, at least better than not taking the drug at all. Yeah, at least better than not taking the drug at all. So there you go. Yeah, that's how I'm reading that. Yeah, definitely. Our findings suggest that THC did not increase anxiety long term, and that CBD dominant forms of cannabis were associated with acute tension reduction that may translate to longer term reductions in anxiety symptoms, says Gregory Giordano, a professional research assistant who worked on the study. So a bullet bust of those guys out there, helping to deliver further information which justifies the use of cannabis as a medicine, and the right that we should have to be able to produce this. Whoops, better fix me. Oh, there we go. Woo. But our right to be able to grow this plant again in the safety of our home. That we shouldn't be, you think about that, like a plant which can reduce our anxiety. But if you start growing it at home, think of the effect that's going to have in your anxiety if you've got the fear of your door being blown off the hinges. And I know there's people out there watching this and who'll tune in later on who do grow. And you'll agree, that when you decide to grow, or even if you're not growing and you're a person out there who buys like in bulk, you might buy an ounce at a time, or maybe more. You might get a half bar, 4.5 ounces, isn't it? Yeah, 4.5 ounces at a time, because you get a good deal in it. A half bar there for $1,000 or something, or 1,200. Whatever's a good price there. But the anxiety that comes with that, like, because I've been there. I tell you, years ago I went and I bought cannabis in bulk. I sold cannabis for a while, but man, that's causes anxiety. It really does. Not the use of the cannabis, but just the fucking holding it, the fear of your door being taken off your hinges. You're dropping a bag out to somebody and the cops pull you in, and they go back and raid your car. It's just wrong when you look at these studies and you're kind of seeing the beneficial effects of being able to use this plant. Imagine if we were able to use it and produce it, how society would benefit. But anyhow, as I say, most of us already would know how this is beneficial. I do know people out there still who use cannabis and would still question whether or not it's actually medical, because these people who might be using it, you probably use it recreationally. They do use it recreationally, but they don't suffer any serious health conditions or anything like that. But they will talk about it. Oh no, it makes me paranoid, right? Definitely. But then they explain how it makes them paranoid, and they're talking about, oh yeah, when I pick up the bag, I'm so paranoid. After I have a smoke, I'm so paranoid, like, because they're afraid to smell like cannabis, and they're going to get stopped and searched. That they're afraid that their mother or their father or family or friends or partner, because I know some people actually whose partner give them guff over consuming still. I mean, you're looking at how beneficial it actually could be to a person, especially if they were able to get the right chemovar, the right what's the phytochemical balance there within the plant. Because as we all know, it's quite difficult. It's in Ireland anyway. I know everybody calls it the strain name. Do you want it or not? That's pretty much what people have the choice of here in Ireland. Do you want it or not? Quite often or not. If you're a person out there who's lucky enough to be able to get it off a grower, or off of somebody who's getting it out from a good source, imported in, otherwise, like most other people out there who's just buying it from God knows who's getting it from God knows who, and you ask what it is, and it's like, it's his. You just get some generic strain name. But in reality, it's, do you want it or not, boy? Drive on there quick because look, fucking, this isn't a shop as such. Like, oh, hopefully soon that all changes. Really soon, hopefully. Let's see. What's happening, Mackie? Yo, yo, yo. uh, Mackie saying evening to everybody out there. Roving Reporter says, chat has got professional somehow. Better pull your socks up. I see what you did there, Roving Reporter. I'm in on it this time. I was wondering what was going on there the last day in the hot box. But I get that joke now. Oh, professionalism. I better fucking sit up straight. Constant Gardner, what is happening, CG? Jimmy K is in the hot box as well. He says medical and recreational is the same thing, really. They're government terms. Divisive terms always come from government. Yeah. Guys, if you want to see a great video done that really like hits that note home what Jim K is just saying there, Alan Robinson, the NI Canna guy, he does an amazing one using bananas. You should get over. I can't remember where it is because I would put it up on screen there now. It's either on his Instagram, his Facebook, or his YouTube. But he uses bananas and he has 2 bunches of bananas and he's like, right, these are my recreational bananas and these are my medicinal bananas because I've got a shortage of potassium. And he's like, these bananas deliver my potassium. But these bananas, the other hand, he goes, these are mine for when I go out and about and enjoy myself and I go into the park for a picnic because they're my recreational bananas, you know? And it's just like, but really, they're the same fucking things. The fives, you know, both of them, both the exact same store. But that's medical cannabis. It's like, this is my recreational cannabis, this is my medical cannabis, but they came out of the same fucking tub as such. So it's, as I said, I probably butchered his explanation of it using the bananas, but his video, as I said, all props there, go to NI Canna guy for that, and I definitely would recommend go over there, give it a watch, and definitely give it a share too. Excuse me. But boom, Pip Jam, what is happening? Mad Dog, what is going down? Bugsy's Evil Deeds, what is going on? He says, back in the day we smoked anybody we could find, and the high has never made me paranoid. The cops have made me paranoid my whole life. Exactly. There you go. Like, you know, or the fact that like I remember back when I really at the height of my mum and dad when I was living at home, and you know, I would just started smoking, and it wasn't even weed that we were smoking then, it was hash. But still, I can remember how paranoid it would make you when you come back and you're like, oh no, I'm stoned, oh shit, you know, and you try to act not stoned and you end up doing some of the most fucking stupidest of things. Again, you all probably are able to understand in some small way what I mean in there. But when you kind of around family that don't know you smoke, but know you smoke in some small way, and you're trying to act not high. This is just funny. Or like, I know my sister, again, it's her birthday today, so happy birthday to her. But she'd be pure CUNT about it, and I come back, I'd be after being out with the cousins or something like that up in the Glen, and I'd be after having a few smokes, watching some movies and stuff again, hitting the hash. Joints and back in the day, the tobacco. But man, the munchies when you come home, because you'll be up on the boys' gaffs, and John, these are the days before probably we're working and shit like that. And you come back with a dose of the munchies, and you stray for the cupboard, man, the bread into the toaster. And then my sister, as I was saying, you know, she turned around and she's like, "You had the munchies, Martin, you stoned." I'd be like, "Shut up, you rat." Happy days, yeah, funny. Still, I'd like, as I'll come on here, I'll hit the bong and stuff, but guys, there is, I could probably count on my 2 hands, let's say, I'll be honest, 2 hands maybe, the amount of times I've actually ever consumed cannabis around my parents in terms of smoking it. I've probably had edibles more than smoked around my parents still. I don't know why that is. They both smoked. My dad had a heart attack, gave up fags after that. My mum's kind of vaping now, doesn't really smoke fags anymore. But me still, I don't know, I just find it maybe like disrespectful to kind of spark up in front of him or something. Yeah, I kind of find that, yeah, weird. I would still go in and have a smoke somewhere else. I think just out of respect, maybe. Maybe there's still a stigma there or something. I'm not too sure, but yeah, don't know kind of how we got there off on a few tangents, but yeah. Yeah, there we go. Bobby saying it too. Never smoked around his parents either. Yeah, it is a respect thing, isn't it? That's how I see it anyway. It's not that I wouldn't smoke around them, but if I was to, I'd nearly ask him permission. Is it okay, or do you want? Will I go away? But again, as I say, like it's been rare. Like remember, like I was having a coffee out the back one morning, and I said it to my mum. I was like, "Mum, is it alright if I just take the bong out of the shed?" Because she kind of knew I went into the shed for a hit off the bong. It was a lovely sunny summer morning. I was older this time. I was living at home. I was like in my 20s at this stage, kind of having a bit of relationship trouble at the time. Let's just say that. And I was living back home, just going through that thing. But I was just like, is it okay if I just take the bong out of the shed and have a hit of it out in the deck in there at the table? She's like, yeah, yeah, go on, no bother at all. And she was pure curious about it then, asking me questions and things. It was funny. Yeah, it was funny. Or the night I brought up the volcano, there was a bit of a kind of a few drinks being had out with my mum and dad's back garden, family and some friends up there with him, and I called up. And some of my dad's friends actually, I knew they smoked as well because they were down before, and hopefully not hanging them here. They'd be like, "Martin, any notch?" But I brought up the volcano knowing they were there and that they would have a vape with me. So I packed up the volcano and they were like, "Don't give your nan any no. Make sure you don't give your nan any no." I'm sure they were worried that we might kill my nan if she was to have a vape. But in saying that, like, one of my dad's friends, it was himself and herself, like, they were a couple, and they both had some vapes with me, passed the volcano bag around, and I left about an hour or so later. My mum was like, Martin, what was in that? She goes, and I won't mention the name of herself, but she was like, she's in an awful condition. She's after pulling up. But my mum didn't say it like this, but what she described is basically she pulled a whitey. I started laughing, and then I was talking to her boyfriend, or her husband, sorry, her fucking husband of many years. And he was just breaking his ass laughing. Then, like, they were only used to hash. Yeah, so they were only getting hash up around Dublin there. They weren't really used to the weed. And the volcano and the weed was just particularly nice this evening as well. And it just went down too easy for them. They were after a few drinks as well, like, so just giving a little bit of defence there. But funny memories. Hopefully we'll have many more of those into the future. Bugsy saying here, my mum and dad were anti-weed until my mum got cancer, and then we had bong sessions. Oh man, like fucking, I'm sorry to hear about your mum that it took for that for you to be able to bond around it, but it is amazing too that you were able to get that opportunity as well. As much as you wouldn't want it under those circumstances. It's kind of a weird one because it's great that you got together and were able to consume, but like, man, I feel so. Hopefully your mum was recovered. Hopefully that she kicked that cancer's ass, and that it never returns again, and that she's still kind of using cannabis as preventative now. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Oh no. Mackie, too funny, Martin. I had to share some personal stories there. It increased the professionalism there, you know what I mean? Allow you in a bit more. Hi, Mr. Wes. Welcome. So let's get back to the 420 news there, guys. Great to go down memory lane there with you. Really enjoy that. Shall we jump back then? So we talked there about cannabis and its ability to be an anxiety reducer. And we also kind of talked then about how the cops themselves are the creators of anxiety, the creators of increased paranoia for people who consume cannabis, especially people who might use it for the first time. Because if you're a person who is a first-time consumer of cannabis, you know that the intensity is just heightened and everything. And, the cops, not only do you have to deal with the fear of the cops stopping and searching you, kicking in your door, you have to deal with the misinformation that they spread and that they engage in spreading. Because the next article there that we're going to jump into is this one. Drew Harris says potent cannabis in Ireland causing psychosis. And he also talks about cocaine prices soaring. So we'll part cocaine for a second, but like potent cannabis. Let's just talk about that for a second before we even go into the article. Potent cannabis. What can you as a consumer do to protect yourself from potent cannabis? The only real thing you can do is grow your own. That's pretty much the only real thing you can do to protect yourself from potent cannabis, because then you can choose a strain that meets a chemo profile that suits your tolerance levels. So, like, we go back to that study a few minutes ago that they talked about, like a 1-to-1 THC to CBD strain, and they use 12%, so 12% THC, 12% CBD. That could be a very good place to start, or you could start again somewhere along the lines of 3% THC and 12 to 18% CBD, that kind of a way. You as a consumer can't choose that in a store. So if you could only choose it by growing cannabis, you can buy the seeds and grow it. And even then, you can be hopeful that the chemo profile you get at the end is going to match what it was on the seed packet. And the only way you can actually check that would be get the chemical analysis of the plant, which again, because of these cops, you can't bloody do, not because of the cops, but because of the policies they enforce. You as a cannabis consumer can't go into a retail store and buy that. You can't, as a grower, go out and get your cannabis tested, really, like without the fear of these guys, you know what I mean? So yes, definitely, guys, #grow your own. Grow your own. There's some very reputable seed producers out there now, some seeds, cannabis seed, strain breeders, and you've got an amazing selection there, from the really low THC with the high CBD and the high CBG and all of that kind of stuff, right up throughout, to the 1-to-1s, to the much higher THC ratio, to the low CBD and other cannabinoids. But that's the thing, guys. Grow your own. It would be definitely my advice. But this guy out there, he's talking about a problem on which he is pretty much complicit in creating potent cannabis, the problem of potent cannabis causing psychosis. Because we can go into that then, causing psychosis. In reality, cannabis actually doesn't cause psychosis. If it did, we've got a massive amount of cannabis consumers out there. We would be seeing a lot more prevalence of psychosis out there within the cannabis consuming community. The link there is only like coincidental in reality, because again, if you're a person who's prone to developing psychosis, then you're at risk of actually being a person, you're more likely, not at risk, more likely to be a person who actually consumes cannabis, because quite often or not, the people who develop psychosis and have a risk to it, that goes hand in hand with being a person who could be a bit more exploratory with recreational drugs, with illegal drugs, with kind of risk-taking behaviour. So the link there, it's only like, again, it's coincidental. It's like talking about fucking sharks and ice cream. As ice cream sales go up, shark attacks go up. And then forgetting the fact that, summer. It's the exact same thing when you're talking about causing psychosis. Totally circumstantial. Again, it's a very tiny percent of the population of cannabis consumers who actually would develop anything in relation to the psychosis. So, and then we go on further, you look at Drew Harris here and the misinformation now he's spreading, talking about potent cannabis, which you as a consumer, as we just talked about, can't protect yourself from causing psychosis. And if you're a first-time consumer and you go out there and unfortunately, or fortunately, depends on your perspective on this, you end up with a really high THC strain with little to no CBD or any other cannabinoids in there. You're just getting a lash of THC, and maybe you're even more unfortunate and you get something that's after being coated in some sort of like synthetic or semi-synthetic cannabinoid. Like what's very prevalent at the moment is HHC. And again, there's little or nothing you can do to protect yourself as a consumer outside of growing your own or really being nitpicky about your source. But again, for a first timer who we're talking about here, you're going to be paranoid out of your head. Like you're going to end up inside in the A&E saying, I'm going crazy, I'm going to be like this forever, because you read this headline and then you kind of went on and tried cannabis, and then the intensity, just around that echoing in your head, I've seen it happen to one person, all right, and after edibles, was thinking that he was going to be stuck like this forever. Yeah, and like I was able to help calm the person down, bring him back, and help him through it, and came out of totally fine. Didn't need to go to the A&E afterwards or anything like that. But if that person had like read something like this, ate the edibles, that person was going to have a bad time. A bad time. And let's remember, Drew Harris, he's not even like medically qualified in any way. The guy is a fucking cop. Like, he's a blowing MI5 secret agent. You know. I won't go there. But like, he isn't medically qualified to be able to make this claim. He's just spreading misinformation. And like, where is the accountability for that? You know, he needs to be held to account for the spreading of misinformation like this. Like, my platform is, ye guys who are amazing, but unfortunately, we need somebody with a much bigger platform out there. Again, like maybe somebody, Gino Kenny or TD, to be able to call in Drew Harris and to be saying, this is misinformation that you're spreading. You're causing fear and panic out there within the population, which isn't founded really with any real hard evidence there to link psychosis and cannabis in causatively. They're still only like fucking coincidental, like correlatory. That's the one, correlatory. It's still only correlation, no link really of causation there. And any effects there of cannabis on an individual that could be described as being any way of like related to psychosis, they're transient, as in in a little bit of time they wear off and the person just returns to normal. So anyway, all right, Rashers, what's happening? Chilbert, howdy. Mr. Wes says, I bought those Slurricane cuts last year with some edibles and they flew out. Lovely. And who else is out there? Boom. What's happening, Martin, over there on X, saying that he's never smoked a joint in his life, all based on reefer madness. 100%, yeah. It's very true. I would love to, like, is that out there? As your man Drew Harris, as he said, that he's never smoked the jazz cannabis, the jazz cabbage. Is that out there? Because I've never read that anywhere myself, but not that I've been looking or anything. But I'd be curious. I would love to know if he had, what he thought. I'd imagine if he did, he probably had some horror story to share. So he probably hasn't, because I haven't read the horror story. Rossi Dabs, when he can, what's happening, says, my mother wasn't good about weed until she got cancer either. Bad situation. But I'm assuming then that she got like acquainted with the cannabis and the compounds within and their benefits, and I really hope she kicked cancer's ass too and is doing well now and is still friendly with cannabis and is benefiting from its preventative qualities there as well. Rasher saying politicians and most doctors have no idea of the range of qualities of these plants. Yeah, I know, it's so fucking true. It's not going to be until one of these big companies out there can come along with a patented process and product at the end of that process that they can then make fucking a fortune off of, that we will see these compounds within cannabis like out there. Like Marinol. Let's just talk about Marinol for a second. That is, that's pretty much THC. As far as I know, let me just confirm that there now. Like Marinol versus THC. Marinol, or dronabinol, is a synthetic form of tetrahydrocannabinol, the main psychoactive ingredient of marijuana. In addition to creating the high that many users seek, THC is known to reduce neuropathic pain and thing. Is there actually a difference? So I'm assuming that there is no difference here. Difference between, let's see, it contains synthetic form of THC. Yeah, that's pretty much what's coming up here. I'll pop this up there for you to see. So Marinol prescription medication that contains a synthetic form of THC. It's not the same as cannabis, which is a natural plant that contains hundreds of different. So it's basically just synthetic THC. That's pretty much what Marinol or dronabinol is, synthetic THC. And that's medicine. You know? Oh, yeah. But anyhow, yeah. Roving Reporter saying it there. Marinol is synthetic, and it was made. Marinol was made, I believe, it was made in like the 70s or something like that. Data production, difference. Yeah, data production. Data production. When did Marinol come out? 1985, guys. Boom, pop this back up just so you to see. It came out in 1985. And like you can't forget either, like how long America has actually been given um, cannabis to patients over there. It's for a long time. And meanwhile, we're criminalising people for it. I met that was he 60 odd or 80 odd year old man there down in Dunmanway, being criminalised for the very same compound that they were able to synthesize, turn into it. And the problem there with Marinol, Dronabinol, 1985, guys. All right, 20-year patent in 2005. That came out of patent. So anybody then generically can start making now Dronabinol. The Marinol is the brand name. Dronabinol is the actual THC, synthetic THC compound. So Dronabinol now is a free to make compound out there. Any company, anyone out there can set up your own company, get a license, and start producing a generic form of Dronabinol. Call it what you want. Mad. So that's why it's not heavily marketed and sent around. They came up then afterwards with Sativex. Sativex being like it's a natural one, actually natural. It's made from a plant, but what they were able to patent there, the spray, the delivery method, money, cha-cha-ching. So 20 years then I believe is also the patent license period in that. So they have exclusivity to be able to produce and sell that product in its spray form for 20 years. Do you know? Mad shit. But look, the cops get to have, their time out there in the media, spreading their misinformation. But at the same time, they completely ignore the fact that this is a medicinal plant and that there's patients out there who also use this. And some of those patients, he's talking about potent cannabis. He's referring to high THC cannabis. There's patients out there taking, as we just seen there, synthetic THC, just pure THC in a synthetic form and even in a spray form along with in a full spectrum spray form, high THC, full spectrum, just as it is kind of almost in the plant. And this guy is saying that it causes psychosis. Well, if that was going out to patients like that, I'm sure we would be seeing a lot more in the media about cannabis and psychosis, especially within the patient population who are using it. What are you saying in the hot box? People talking about spice. Yeah, as Rashers is saying, Marinol is not spice. Spice itself is like a chemically altered form of dronabinol. So they'll get, like, say, they could make dronabinol and then they can add compounds or they can remove a compound and make it a little bit different. And that's how you come up with like things like spice and fucking all of the other ones that were there. There was like the U42798 and all these crazy fucking things, and they were just moving around molecules on the compound and turning it into something different. And the effects there could be crazy, like heroin and morphine. One molecule difference, an acetyl molecule, I believe, is the molecule difference there, the molecular difference. And it makes a big difference because it's a double bond as well. And like, again, not to bore you on structural chemistry and stuff, because I know a bit. I got my degree, herbal science, honours degree, bachelor science. But the double bond, it's a powerful bond. And when you consume, say, that double bond, as it gets broken, its interaction there and stuff like it's a powerful bond. Let's just say that. And it makes a big difference. So in the heroin and the morphine, the diacetyl, is that what it's called, isn't it? Diacetyl morphine? And then morphine. What fucking chemical? It's diacetyl, isn't it? Jeez, drawing a blank dash, still kicking my ass. Yeah. Diacetate metal morphine. Jesus, that's a long name. Yeah. But sorry, going off on all sorts of tangents. Saints. Shouldn't really try to do science while you're baked like a cake. It's been a nice Saturday morning. I got out there for an early morning run and then got a couple of things done and had a bowl or two there while we were trying to get that done as well. So forgive me. Just riding that good vibe. Tea's going on lovely too. Jack the astronaut, what is happening? He says Joe Rogan of Cork. Love it. I don't think I've ever been described as such. Martin, big respect for all the work you do for us. It takes a lot of bravery to stand up to the system and put your freedom on the line. Well, unfortunately, whether we realise it or not, all of our freedom is on the line if we're consumers out there. And I just fucking sadly came to that realisation in court one time, because I was trying to do everything right in court, and I was showing up to the court, and I was just like saying to the judge, I'm working, I'm holding down two jobs at that time, earlier on. I was delivering pizza and I was fitting windscreens back in my earlier court cases, and I was a young dad as well. And I thought, I've got all of this stuff going for me here, like, everything's going good. I wasn't on the dole, I was working away. No, man, the first judge took it a grand, and he was like, yeah, you're wasting my time coming in here. Go on away, look, strike this out. What's the guard up to bringing you in? And then the next judge thought it was a completely different story. And then I kind of realised after a couple of more appearances in court that there was very little we can do. That quite often or not, these judges, as we see in the media, they very much got a chip on their shoulder around drug users, and they don't differentiate, as we see again quite often in the media, between drug users. One drug user is just the same as all drug users. And there's very little respect there given from a majority of judges. I think there's one or two who might be sympathetic now towards patients using cannabis, but the majority of them are very unsympathetic towards people who use cannabis, even as a medicine, or those who use it recreationally too. And as I say, do well, hold down not one but two jobs, are there for their kids. Could get fucking many references there towards my own good character. No, they still no. You're a criminal, man. You've been here before, whatever. You either pay 400 their donation to charity, or you take a €200 fine and a conviction, which we'll get to in a second. Why I used that figure. But then I was just like, yeah, we were going to have to stand up and make noise. Started campaigning, legalise Cannabis Ireland many years ago. I was 17, 18 at the time, getting involved with them. Shout out to Castadas Drogas. And I would say a couple of people I met there as well. Sean Lynch, shout out to Sean Lynch as well, another legend I met back in the day, and very much is the reason why I am here. Casa, Sean, and many others there that would have campaigned alongside us throughout the years. They held me back in a sense, but for my own good, because I was very much chomping at the bit back then, as I am now, kind of wanting to get out there, make noise. This is wrong. We're being fucking. This is discriminatory towards us, this is unjustified, and I wanted to make a lot of noise back then about it, but in a civil disobedience way, just fucking, yeah, let's go out there and just break the law, let's go for it, but they're like, no, let's do it this way, let's do it productively as such, organise campaigns, which they did very good, man. I learned an awful lot, as I said, from those guys back over the years, but then lockdown came, fucking COVID and all that shit. And it happened at 420 when I wonder, was fucking the whole go. I was joking saying this obviously, but the whole COVID thing dreamed up because 420 was coming, where it was going to be 420 for an entire month, because it would have been 2020, so April being the fourth month, it would have been 420 for the whole month. So I had big plans, oh yeah, we're going to do a protest every single day, some sort of a campaign right across the entire month, that this is going to be our pride month for cannabis. And then we got locked down. Literally, I was, what a heartbreaker it was. But then I was like, no, we're going, I'm going to start a podcast. I was, because I'd ran in that election as well, and the content I was putting out got well received. And that is why I started up the podcast then. And then was it 2021, the year-long campaign of civil disobedience, fucking going into the guard station with the cannabis, with the plants, and yeah, you all know that. But I had to be done, because As I say, I was in court, I was doing things right, and I was hoping that the judges would be able to understand and agree, yeah, yeah, this is a violation of your rights. This shouldn't be happening to you. But no, sadly, it didn't. And on that note, I'm back in court, guys, on Tuesday, so the 5th of March, in 3 days' time. I will be up in front of the judge again, where they'll be hearing my case. This is multiple charges for cultivation of cannabis in relation to the plants that I planted across Cork City in 2021. So that's going to be on the 5th. I think it's for a hearing, so there won't be the sentencing at all. I believe there'll be another date to come back again for the sentencing part of the case. But yeah, we'll be up there for the hearing on Tuesday. So if anybody happens to be around the city, if you want to come down and say howdy, I'll be down there doing my thing outside of the court on that day. A little bit of civil disobedience before we go in. Again, a bit of a live stream there. So if you're not able to make it down in person, by all means, tune in on the morning. Tuesday morning, 10:30, I have to be inside in the court. The judge will be coming to his seat, so expect this live stream from about maybe 10 o'clock in around that hour. So yeah, anything else to say on that? No, not yet anyway. Roving reporter, it's like going to truck school. I try my best anyway, roving reporter. Martin says, got to go for a run myself, Martin. Take care and God bless. Martin, enjoy the running, boy. Jack, I know, but I don't think not giving a fuck is a smart approach either. That's why I love Martin's approach, where they... Oh, that just disappeared off my screen. Pop it up here. Yeah. Where they know Martin is well educated and can't just be pushed around and have his mouth shut. Yeah, that is somewhat true, alright, you know. But I do agree with you, like, the not giving a fuck isn't a smart approach. I do certainly give a fuck, guys. I don't get me wrong. I don't know how the fuck like, I haven't been getting pulled over all the time. I don't know why. I don't have like a cop car parked outside my front door waiting for this live stream to come on, waiting for me to do my civil disobedience and come pull me off while I'm on air. It's like I'm on here. I'm fucking got me bong bread in the law room. Like, it's, yeah. But I maybe it is because, yeah, that they're a bit hesitant. I don't really want to say that on here either. I don't want to taunt them and say, come on, come get me. But I kind of already did going into the guard station, didn't I? Yeah, I just don't understand it. I'm very confused by the whole thing. I really am. But let's see what happens anyway in court, because I wanted my day in court. I want to go into the court and argue that this is a violation of my constitutional rights and yours too. And I want to win those rights back for us. I want to fight for those rights, much like fucking Bob Marley told us to, guys. Get up, stand up, stand up for your rights. So the government just aren't going to give them back without a fight. They look at any time in history, really, like when a government is giving back power to the people without the people having to rise up and rebel in some sort of a way. I'm not condoning violent rebellions at all, but certainly civil disobedience is a peaceful civil disobedience is a very effective form of protest, because our justice system, guys, is how long am I waiting to go to court? We're in 2024 now. I campaigned all across 2021. 3 years nearly it took to get me to court. Imagine if we all done that, like. Imagine, the backlog in the system. That's my whole thing that I wanted to do back then. Unfortunately, it's just me, but so be it. It's just a flower. Come on, says Keith. 100% Keith, man. I couldn't agree more. All junkies come. Bloody jazz fans. Roman reporter. Jack Jasma says, but the difference is you willingly put yourself on the line, where most people try their best to stay away from the law, especially the courts. Takes a lot of courage. Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, guys. It's certainly not been an easy thing for me to do this. It's it's definitely evoked a lot of fear within me, but man, fear that, but fear itself, like, because it's fear will keep you from achieving great things in life. Don't let fear hold you back. Just not saying don't be afraid. I'm saying don't be held back by fear. Don't let fear stop you in your tracks, Be wise. Saying here, man, I'm going into the cop stations wise. It was a calculated decision, and as I said, guys, man, here we are, fucking more than 3 years later, and it's proven to not have been an unwise decision anyway for the reasons people would have argued back then. So we'll see. Spot on, roving reporter, man. You're spot on. I should have picked it back up there. Was it like 20 minutes ago? Shout out to the guys in the Azores Islands. Apologies for not joining you on your 420. We quickly pack one back up, but it's just going to be herb. A cocktail of herb. Coppers pulling them live, pulling them off live in area. It'd be funny if it ever happened. Like I always, when I started this, guys, I envisioned that happening. Like I thought, like I could picture that happening back at my old gaff. I used to be sitting looking out a window that was where they would have pulled up, and I always was thinking someday I'd be sitting there and I'd just look away and I'd be like, "Oh, guys, there's the cops." But no, it never happened. Barry Field says it's on the OnlyFans. That reminds me, actually, guys. Apparently, OnlyFans like have a podcast thing where you don't like have to expose yourself and stuff. And it's like it's kind of like another Rumble as such. They don't censor you, so I must get an account set up on OnlyFans for the crack. Might do some late night streams. One guy, one bong. Right, let's hit this, guys. Civil disobedience at the ready, guys. Who's with me? So there we go, Roving Reporter. As per your request, Matt, pick up the bong. You better use it. Now we're in, guys. I love it. Time just goes while we're on here. As I say, it flies and you're having fun. Especially fun and bong hits. So where shall we go next? We talked about Drew Harris and the fare, and the fare that the cops make, and no wonder the fare that the cops can put into your mind, it'll cause an increase in paranoia. Look at this one coming out of Cork. Having just €20 worth of cannabis, this guy got not only €200 fine, but he got a conviction. He got a lifelong stain on his name. That's what this guy got for cannabis. Think about that for a second, because we've guys who've brought this country to its knees. We've had politicians who've been like in power, in positions of power, and they've abused that power, and they've done things that would have been considered illegal. Certainly, like again, Bertie Ahern, and the big commission that did the investigation that they done into him and found him to be incredibly deceitful and pretty much just described him as a liar. And that guy's out there doing fucking mad wondrous things. No stain on his name. No lifelong stain on his name. Obviously, he was smeared in the media as such, like maybe lightly. Man, he got off very lightly, but genuinely, he should by right have had a sort of a criminal conviction of some sort. Like, man, he probably didn't break a law. He's probably fucking crafty enough, but that's not to say that the things he was doing weren't deserving of a conviction of some sort, Put into a position of power, abused the shit out of that. Same with the bankers. Bankers, man, they ruined the country there, the Celtic fucking Tigers, they called it, man. They all rode that thing, man. That's all it was, is another name for their gravy train. It's not to say that the average Joe didn't benefit off it, man, but majority of those average Joes are towards. How many of them fucking, unfortunately, done the thing that you can't undo, that thing you only get to do once. You know what I'm talking about? Fucking committed suicide. How many people did that? You heard those horrific stories out there. And those bankers, riding off into the sunsets, some of them, and some of them, still in their positions and now getting massive bonuses again. But this guy caught with 20 euros worth of cannabis, 1 gram, and he has a conviction now staying on his name for the rest of his life. Now, keeping in mind, he had a conviction, two previous convictions for having drugs for his own use. Again, personal use of drugs. The guy, 2 other stains in his name. The fact that he got 1 just as bad. The fact that he's 3 now, it's like, just makes it worse every time. So this case, anyway, as the Taoiseach says, and other people, Michael O'Sullivan there as well, saying, people don't get prosecuted for small amounts of cannabis. This guy pretty much €200 fine and again a conviction. And I'd imagine, if the prisons weren't as full as what they are currently, this guy would have got a prison sentence, I'd say. There's definitely judges out there who wouldn't have thought twice about putting this guy into prison if they weren't as full as what they are at the moment. Because, guys, if you look up the prisons, the prison occupancy, every prison in Ireland at the moment is at or near capacity, and I'd imagine there's probably 1 or 2 over capacity. There was over capacity prisons there the last time I had checked, which was a week and a half ago, nearly 2 weeks ago. But at the moment, I'd say there's probably still some over capacity. But there you go. 20 hours worth of weed. Don't really want to expose this guy's his name and his address on here. What age is he? Give his age, 32 years of age. 32 years of age, 3 convictions now for personal use of drugs. I'd imagine if he ended up in front of this judge again, maybe there could be a fucking prison sentence there for him. This guy was present at home when the cops called. Sergeant John Keller said a warrant was executed by Detective Garda Rory Fogarty for a search of a house at the address given there then, the estate out there in Ballincollig, quite notorious estate as well from my own childhood, the CPGs. That's all we say about that. It just brings back memories there as well, the CPGs in Ballincollig. Let's just say the DVGs as well. That they were there. That was the Douglas Village gangsters. So you can imagine what the CPGs were. Sergeant Kelleher said the accused had 2 previous convictions for having drugs for his own use, and defence solicitor, paid for by you again, guys, Eddie Burke, said that the things had settled down for the accused since the offence was detected in 2022, so again over 2 years ago, and that the defendant was now back living at home and doing better in his life. Having to give these old sob stories, but again, despite that conviction and a fine. And a fine 10 times more than that of the cannabis he was caught with. Well done, Judge. Justified. Surely not. So there you go. That's a case out of Cork. 20 euros worth of cannabis, €200 fine, and another lifelong conviction added to this guy's name. Quadrex Josh, what is happening, my man? Much love back at you, dude. Hopefully get to see you there later on this year as well. We go climb that mountain again, yeah? We go get high together. Be the highest people in Ireland at the top of Carrontool. But Quadrex Josh saying, I'm actually trying to repair my damaged liver with foods, teas, and stopped all pharma meds I was in. Plus, I must find some RSO. Best luck on that, man. Quadrex Josh there, guys, commenting from the Facebook. If anybody wants to go over there, if they've got a good source for RSO. Hopefully you get something in your inbox there, Josh. But again, if I can proceed with caution, if you're going to message Josh, guys, maybe message me too, just so I can give you the seal of approval there, maybe. look out for the people out there looking to detoxify with good foods and good cannabis. Roman Reporter says, how many alcohol violent arrests every week? But cannabis is dangerous to society due to mental health. Ludicrous. It's insane, man. It's insane. A person goes out there, can act all crazy and violent on alcohol, and then there's very little said about it. A guy got into a fight will be the headline. Let's talk about fucking RTD there, your man from Kerry. Name is gone. What's their names again? Those fucking brothers. Oh, oh, it's on the tip of me tongue. Like Healy Ray country. There we go. The Healy Rays. Jeez, man, it was just like so close. Got it then. The Healy Rays. When their sons got into a fight down there, there was very little in that. It was like they were talking a little bit about the alcohol, but it was like they were experiencing psychosis, you could say, from alcohol. But they don't talk about that, about alcohol causing psychosis. What is it if you are detached from yourself? Are you not in a state of psychosis? You know? Exactly. There, Robin Reporter saying it as well. You know, where are the alcohol psychosis stories in the media? Because there is cases out there which you could, if you're going to do with the cannabis, which they do. You know, a person fucking goes in the med when there and stabs people. They're like, oh yeah, the cannabis addict in a state of drug induced psychosis. But they never do the same for alcohol, drug induced psychosis. They never equate alcohol with a drug. One, they'll always talk about a person being drunk. They'll describe it as such, maybe. But they'll never talk about being in an alcohol induced state of psychosis. Or if they were to talk about it, that's how they describe it. They wouldn't call it a drug induced psychosis. Alcohol's not a drug in the mainstream media. They need to keep that for the ones that are illegal, you know, that term, drug. Right. But yeah, we all probably know this. So we drive on there, shall we? What would it be saying out the hot box rashers saying the literally just operating within the time frame of charges. It is 3 years question mark. I don't believe there is a statute of limitations for drugs. I'm open to correction on that, or if there is, maybe I would be wrong in saying 7. I might be wrong in saying 7 years. 7 years for some reason is coming in there that they have to like bring it to court within 7 years for certain things. But it could be 3. You could be more in the know there than me on that one, Ashers. 420 Toker says, I have smoked 7 grams a day living the high life in a way. Yes, you're a poet and you don't know it there, 420 Toker, dude. The Roving Reporter says, alcohol psychosis media would be 24-hour channel and never run out of stories. Yeah, you're on the ball, man. Saturday night would be a treasure trove of stories for the alcohol induced psychosis, you know. Rye Duggan says antidepressants and antipsychotics can make some mental health issues worse. Yep. I had anti-epileptic drugs in there, of which I suppose do fall under those descriptions as well, because these drugs have multiple uses. Keppra, I've talked about it many times on here, but geez, man, that induced a crazy state of like borderline psychosis, man. I was experiencing flash anger, rage that just was unjustified. I had no reason for feeling the way I was. It was just it was drug induced. That was my first time experiencing a drug induced anger, rage, almost wanting to fucking act out as well in violence. Kind of got detached before with alcohol, so I would wake up and be told about like fucking yeah, remember you were a bit shouldn't drink. What was it? That was the whiskey. Shouldn't be drinking the whiskey, and I didn't afterwards. Blackout drunk, not good. But didn't remember it, so I couldn't remember the experience of it. But geez, that Keppra, I remember that, man, very well, vividly. Can remember the experience of it and how hard it was to almost control it. Like I just kind of had to get up and just go out and sit down with the chickens and look around and take deep breaths and shit. Like, oh, just had to get away from people. Not nice, not nice. Hey, Elijah. He's showing the trucks. Oh, your trucks are lovely, buddy. Elijah is tuned in there, and he's showing me the trucks apparently. Right, let's drive on, shall we, and get back into some of these other headlines. We covered a story there earlier on last week on the show. It's back today, but for another reason. There was follow-up searches after the previous searches, and a further 120,000 worth of cannabis was uncovered in Donegal town. So there's a photo here of the Gardaí at the premises. So it looks to be some sort of an industrial type of unit there. And the boys here on the outside going through a bag. Looks like to be some boxes on a forklift or something like that at the back there as well. But they're searching her anyway, and they found an extra 6 kilos of cannabis there, bringing the total find to €750,000. So again, if this was to be cigarettes, they would talk about the potential loss to the exchequer. But if we were to do that here and we were to say, look, if this was worth that much, $750,000, and if that was to include like the potential tax, let's just say 20%, just to round it off, make it easier. Like you're talking about a potential loss of €150,000 here to the exchequer in that. Should that have been legal and regulated and sold, then taxed accordingly, and that's not taking into account then the jobs and the other kind of benefits there to the economy in that, like, because you're going to have people getting jobs, income tax and all of that kind of crack. Could go on, but they never talk about this in these articles, and we can't forget. We are really on the precipice of the government looking at decriminalising this. They only put a 9-month stay in it, and they have to come back and revisit it. Let's hope when they do that, like, obviously there's going to be an election very close to then, but let's hope the conversation develops further to potential, as I say, regulation of this industry and tax added to it, in terms of the sale of products. Let's hope that develops, but unlikely, as I say. It's going to be more or less just taken over by an election when the 9 months rolls up. Follow-up searches were conducted by Gardaí after the initial find of 630,000 worth of cannabis above in Ballyshannon in County Donegal, and a further 6 kilos, as I said there, of suspected cannabis was seized, and that brought the total find into